Villager will have to repaint her home. An attorney proposes a plan to stop abandoned cars and abandoned vehicles and abandoned golf carts in the villages. The new Sawgrass Grove is also having problems with improper golf cart parking. Standing room only crowds demanding action on the Morris Boulevard. Problematic rental property in a villa community really upsetting the residents. Village of Marsh Bend resident accused of stealing $9,200 from her employer. Villager arrested after throwing beer in the face of a fellow resident at Sawgrass Grove. Family files a wrongful death lawsuit against Canadian snowbirds. How many holes in ones at golf this week? This and more coming up. A villager must repaint her mint green and pink home or face daily fines. The home of Charlotte Burgundy at 713 Megan Circle in the village of Silver Lake on the historic site of Villages was the subject of a public hearing Wednesday afternoon before the Village Center Community Development District Board of Supervisors at Savannah Center. The complaint was received in November about the color of the home and blue paint at the end of the driveway. The driveway was not in violation, but it was determined by community standards that the colors of the home were not in compliance with the color palette. The home is painted mint green and pink trim. Burgundy's options are limited. She can repaint and bring the house back into its original color at construction, or she can repaint choosing a shade of color from the color palette, which she had been adopted by the VCDDD, DD and FYG. A solution has been proposed for the long-standing problem of abandoned cars and golf carts in the villages. Attorney Kevin Stone, who serves as counsel to the Amenity Authority Committee and the Village Center Community Development District, said Wednesday he is working on a potential solution to the problem. The goal is to address cases we've seen over and over and over, Stone said. Too often golf carts and cars have been left in parking lots at recreation centers and postal stations. For example, a cart was dumped last year at the El Santiago Recreation Center. Also in 2022, a maroon Cadillac SUV was found backed into a parking spot on the far side of the Savannah Center. It was there for several months. It was not the first time a vehicle has been abandoned at the Savannah Center. In 2017, an abandoned vehicle with expired Arizona plates raised the ire of an elected official. It was there for nearly a year. Stone said he has done research to combat the problem. One option would be a lot of expensive signage, making drivers aware their vehicles could be towed. That's not a good look for us, Stone said. More like the developer said, this does not sell homes. However, he said the statute provides for personal notice, giving the vehicle owner a warning that it could be subject to towing if it continues to remain in the parking lot. Well, if they abandon a vehicle for a year, that tells me they don't even come to that parking lot to check on that vehicle, so that sign's going to mean nothing. We'll see. More talk, no action. A motorcyclist has been arrested in a road rage incident at Lake Deaton Plaza in the Villages. A man said he was driving his rented 2022 Dodge Ram pickup at about 1 p.m. Tuesday in the vicinity of Morris Boulevard and State Road 44. While traveling north of Morris Boulevard, the man in the pickup and the motorcyclist, later identified as 61-year-old Frederick Charles Nelson of Wildwood, were involved in a verbal road rage incident. The pickup driver told deputies he disengaged from the road rage incident and turned right onto State Road 44, heading for the Circle K gas station at Lake Deaton Plaza. He said he was traveling eastbound on State Road 44 and saw that the motorcyclist was following him. He parked at the fuel pump and Nelson approached him. The driver's side window of the pickup was rolled down and Nelson became so irate that he reached through the open window and used his fist to strike the man on the left side of his face. The pickup driver stepped out and attempted to defend himself by kicking Nelson. That prompted Nelson, who stands 6'2" tall, weighs 250 pounds, to force the pickup's driver's side door closed, striking the man's right leg near the back of the ankle. His injuries were consistent with the account he gave deputies. The incident was captured on video surveillance at Circle K. You going to jail for assault. Nelson fled the scene before deputies arrived, but was tracked down at his home. He was arrested on a felony charge of battery and booked at Sumter County Detention Center. He was released after posting a $25,000 bond. A villager was arrested after allegedly attacking a woman he claimed is after him for his inheritance from his parents. Kelly Kristen Jones, 54, was arrested last week on charge of battery and false imprisonment after an alleged attack on a woman at his home at 533 Rainbow Boulevard in the village of Silver Lake on the historic side of the Villages. An officer could hear yelling, screaming coming from the backside of the residence. When he arrived at 11 p.m. February 2nd, according to the arrest report of Lady Lake Police Department. As the officer approached the back porch, he saw Jones restraining the woman in a chair. Jones, who stands 6'2" tall and weighs 175 pounds, was holding the woman down by her arms and yelling and screaming at her. Jones defended his actions, claiming the woman had been antagonizing him and was after him for his inheritance from his parents. The woman said the California native had headbutted her in addition to restraining her. Her injuries included a scratch on the center of her forehead. She said she tried to call 911, but Jones snatched the phone from her. Jones was taken into custody and booked at the Lake County Jail. He was released after posting a $4,000 bond. Girlfriend, move out while you have the chance. Improper golf cart parking has become a problem at the new Sawgrass Grove venue in the Villages. Sawgrass, which features McGrady Pub and the Boxcar Stage, has rapidly developed a following since opening this past summer. Even though there are more than 200 parking spots, including 8 handicap spots between Sawgrass Grove and the adjacent Azelle Rec Center, golf cart drivers have been parking on the grass across from the railroad car. That's because these lazy people don't want to walk 50 feet. Joe Sullivan of the Village of Citrus Grove said the grass has taken a beating at the ad hoc golf cart parking lot. It's all going to turn into mud, Sullivan told members of the Community Development District 13 Board of Supervisors on Thursday morning at the Everglades Recreation Center. Mike Harris of District Property Management admitted the golf cart parking has become a problem. It's a big issue. A lot of residents have complained about it. He added that his department is looking at possible solutions. Yeah, I got a solution for you. When you have Community Watch go down there and walk around with their little batons that light up at night, have them go out there every night for a while and tell them people you can't park here, you got to move on, got to move on, got to move on. Simple solution. Other residents said there is plenty of parking available, but said residents are lazy and simply don't want to walk. Bingo. The village's fire chief was standing at the door counting heads as a standing room only crowd flooded Savannah Center demanding action on Morris Boulevard. Dozens of people were turned away Friday morning from the Community Development District 1 Board of Supervisors meeting when the Ashley Wilkes room quickly filled to capacity. Residents, the vast majority wearing red shirts in solidarity of their cause, were eager to send a message to the CDD1 board, which has committed to a $100,000 traffic study to see what options are available to improve safety on the busy thoroughfare. Marilyn DeVries, a 25-year resident of the Villages, added some historical perspective to the situation that has evolved on Morris Boulevard. I moved in when Morris Boulevard wasn't completed. The continued growth in and around the Villages and the approximately 25 new villas to be shoehorned in at the former Hacienda Country Club site are making her nervous. I'm going to stop there. Somebody asked me what was going to go in where the Hacienda Country Club was at, and this is what I knew that happened a long time ago. That's the last plans I saw, that they were going to put in villas. That could be changed, but it sounds like it's still the same so far. I don't want to see another dead body in the street. She lives near the intersection of Morris Boulevard and Juanita Avenue, where 70-year-old Barbara Joan Lawson was driving her golf cart on June 30th when she was hit by a van driven by a man from Naples. She was ejected from the golf cart and transported by ambulance to Ocala Regional Medical Center, where she later died. There is an estimated 20,000 cars per day traveling on Morris Boulevard north of County Road 466. Residents contend that the volume of traffic and speeding have created a dangerous situation for golf carts traveling on that busy roadway. I think it has too. Residents pressured CDD1 last year, frustrated by years of inaction by Sumter County, which owns the road. That's who you're going to have to talk to. I really don't think that our district supervisors can do any more than just take notes of a meeting and they pass it along. Taxpayers of Sumter County has to maintain that road, which is us and anybody else that lives in Sumter County. Villager Kenneth Mann said the Morris family, for whom the road is named, share the blame for the situation. Unfortunately, we find ourselves in a position in which we need to correct a situation which should have been foreseen by the developer of the villages. Kimley Horn Associates Incorporated have been hired by CD1 to conduct an evaluation of the roadway and propose some possible safety improvement. The engineering firm's Amber Gartner indicated their report could be ready by June. Residents made it clear they won't be satisfied with a report that doesn't prompt action. We are not going to stop, said villager Susan Goodman. I don't blame him. I don't live there, but I drive my golf cart up there once in a while. I very seldom ever take my car that direction anymore. I just don't like it at all. We take Buena Vista, and that's kind of a catch-22 because there's more roundabouts on Buena Vista than there is on Morris Boulevard. Neighbors are furious about the deplorable conditions of a neglected next-door villa in the villages. The villa at 1805 Peachtree Avenue in the Valdosta Villas in the village of Bel Air was the subject of public hearing Friday before the Community Development District 3 Board of Supervisors. There needs to be something done. He said the overgrown grass and weeds have attracted snakes, rats, and even turkey vultures. The neighbors had been somewhat hopeful when a for sale sign went up at the problematic property. However, the realtor came and collected his sign, apparently having fled no offers. That means the price was too high. That's what that means. We don't care about grass. That can be mowed. If he didn't get any offers, didn't even get an offer, price is way too high. I'm telling people out there because I know this to be fact. Some people, not all, some people think their property is worth $1 million, and it's not. Some people here think their houses are worth $500,000, and they're not. But that's what they're going for. Maybe they'll get it. Who knows? But I know the difference. I've seen them. Take your time when you're looking for a house. If it's a pre-owned home, take your time. There are just too many problems for someone to buy it. Andrea Relay, who lives on the other side of the neglected villa, agreed that the problems have gone on far too long. We keep our homes nice, Riella said in obvious frustration. This does not say too much for the villages. The complaint about the overgrown grass, weeds, bushes was lodged November 30th with community standards. The home's owner, Mary Bertali, responded to the notice of the public hearing and told community standards she was attempting to hire a contractor to address the problems. As of the most recent inspection, nothing has been done. They're not going to do anything. The board agreed to give Batelli 7 days to bring the property into compliance. If she fails to do so, the district will begin to maintain the property at a cost of $250 each time the grass is cut. There you go. That's their answer to their problem. We'll mow the grass. The moldy home of a deceased couple in the villages will finally be power washed. Oh my God, I've reported this house 2 or 3 times about the complaints, and here's a recent picture. I'm looking at it. You guys will see it. Maybe you see it now. All the mold and that, it's all over the car. It's gotten everywhere. Good Lord. It is. There's no reason for any house in the retirement community to get like this. None. The home at 2016 Cordero Court in the village of San Domingo was the subject of another public hearing Friday morning before the Community Development District 2 Board of Supervisors. The home was purchased for $95,000 in 1998 by John and Helen Fuller. They are deceased. The property, which now falls under the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Renewal, has chalked up more than $25,000 in deed compliance fines for violations, including a car in the driveway that is obviously inoperable and hasn't been moved in years. In this case, the contractor will charge $150 per hour for his work. The cost will be added to the fines that continues to add up. It is hoped that the money eventually can be recovered. Perhaps at the time the property changes hands, District Council Mark Briones has been working to tighten up the process and has enjoyed some recent success in recovering money for the CDDs. His work has come about after the anger from residents who don't like to see fines forgiven at derelict properties. I don't either. They didn't care when they lived here, and we're supposed to care after they leave? I'm not talking about the ones that died. I'm talking about the ones that housed the property. A Village of Tierra del Sol South resident was arrested at his home on a Lake County warrant. Jeremy Mark Moritz, 39, at 518 Carrera Drive, was taken into custody by Sumter County deputies shortly before 3 p.m. Thursday on a warrant which charged him with violating his probation. He was booked without bond at the Sumter County Detention Center pending his transfer to the Lake County jails. Moritz has been placed on probation after pleading no contest this past November to a charge of leaving the scene of an accident. He was fined $650. The crash occurred at about 2 p.m. October 14th at U.S. Highway 27 and 441 at La Grande Boulevard when a black Pontiac two-door passenger car rear-ended a white Chevy van and then proceeded to back up, colliding with a red Ford pickup, according to the rush report from the Lady Lake Police Department. The driver of the Pontiac made no attempt to check on either party he collided with and left the scene at a high rate of speed. The Pontiac drove over a median and through a red light at the intersection of U.S. Highway 27 and 441 at Griffin Avenue. Witnesses provided police with the Pontiac's license plate number. Officers went to Mariza's home, where they spotted the Pontiac in the driveway and noted it had visible damage to the front end and rear end. Mariz, who indicated he works as a security guard, admitted he had been involved in a crash. He said he was scared and fled the scene. It should not be noted that while speaking to the defendant, a strong odor of alcoholic beverage was emitted from this person. Hit and runs around here. It's a problem. It gets worse every year. A problematic rental property is upsetting residents in a villa community in the Villages. Supervisor Kathy Porter at Friday's Community Development District 1 meeting raised the concerns on behalf of the residents of the San Pedro Villas. Last month, 44-year-old handyman was arrested after a brawl with a man and a woman at 403 Carmel Avenue. Joshua Lee Poole was taken into custody on a felony charge of battery while strangulation and misdemeanor charge of battery. His arrest apparently capped some long-standing problems at the villa. She has encouraged residents to contact community standards with their concerns. The villa is a rental and owned by a woman who lives in the Stonecrest community in Summerfield. She purchased the villa in 2020 for $196,000. In addition to the criminal case against Poole, a small claims case was filed last month in Sumter County Court. He is being sued by his credit card company for an overdue balance of $2,185. These rental properties, they'll rent them to anybody. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Rental properties here is a problem. It could be a big problem if you buy one and somebody bought a brand new home next to you. Most happens in villa areas. Rental properties in villa areas are popular. And you could have some druggy 22-year-old. They'll rent these houses out to anybody. Sexual offenders that just got released from prison last week could rent a house here in the Villages, and they do. A Sumter County jury has rendered a decision in a criminal case involving feuding neighbors in the Villages. Village of Sanibel resident Gerald Wilbur Lawson, 80, had been charged with aggravated battery of his neighbor, 75-year-old Leanna Hood, which she alleged occurred on October 13, 2020. Lawson lives at 566 Bradford Loop, and Hood lives at 562 Bradford Loop. The feud began 7 years ago when a next-door neighbor accused Lawson of lodging a deed compliance complaint regarding her landscaping. See, this is what happens when they know who lodges a complaint. Arguments start. This is exactly why I like the idea of anonymous complaints. I just think the difference should be whoever makes the complaint has to live in that same district, or they can't make a complaint. It's not your district, not your complaint. During the trial, both Hood and Lawson told a jury that they and their spouses had been friends for the first 2 years, that they lived next to each other. The couple, remember I always say people, after about 2 years of living somewhere, then you start noticing things. Notice these people were friends for 2 years. They lived next to each other. The couple were so close that they had keys to each other's houses and would watch over the homes when each other would go out of town. Once the feud began, Hood called the Sumter County Sheriff's Office 7 times alleging Lawson had done something that she felt was illegal, but deputies found the allegations had no merit. However, the deputy who responded to Hood's 2020 call, claiming she had been battered, was shown a video in which Lawson was mowing his yard while she was watering her sod. The video showed the handle of Lawson's self-propelled lawnmower make slight contact with the woman's right buttock, which was clearly on his property as he was mowing. I'm going to have to speed this up. This is just a lot. This is just a long, stupid report, really. She testified that before calling the sheriff's office, she continued to water the sod. When Lawson took the stand, he leaned on his walking stick as he is suffering from Parkinson's disease and has balance issues. Lawson testified that he was mowing the lawn with a self-propelled mower and had to move the mower around a palm tree, which was at an angle. He said he did not feel or see the mower make contact with Hood's butt, but would never have done so intentionally given her history. After the jury retired to deliberate, about a dozen of Lawson's neighbors waited with him. In the courtroom, attorney Cunan appeared confident and predicted that the jury would render a decision in 30 minutes. 29 minutes later, the jury came back with a verdict of not guilty. Lawson was pleased with the verdict, but admitted it's been a difficult time for him. It's been a rough 7 years. 7 wasted years in your golden years. Wasted. You will find out here, this ain't the bubble you might think it is. A Village of Marsh Bend woman has been charged with stealing $9,200 from her employer. Pamela Ann Sullivan, 55, who lives in the Ryan Villas, was arrested this past week by Lake County Sheriff's deputies on a warrant charging her with grand theft. She was working as the transportation supervisor for Kroger in Groveland and apparently helped herself to a stash of gift cards stored in the company safe. The Visa gift cards had been issued by the corporate offices for the purpose of fueling company vehicles. An audit revealed that $9,200 in gift cards were missing. An investigation led to the discovery that the gift cards were used from November to January for purchases at Best Buy, Walmart, Macy's, and Kroger's own canteen. Surveillance's images linked Sullivan to the purchases. She was suspended from her job on January 27th. The New York Navy was booked Tuesday at the Lake County Jail. She was released after posting a $5,000 bond. I wonder if she used a gift card to post her bond. Frankie Bryn Red won the Florida Half-Century Softball Tournament, which was held February 4th and 5th at the Boomba Softball Complex in Sanford. Frankie Bryn Red finished with a record of 3-1. Frankie Bryn Red's only loss was handed to them by Frankie Bryn Gray. The top hitters for Frankie Bryn Red were Hal Dodd, 846, David Hinckley, 818, Mike Buscara, 857, Joe Schnickels, 750. Al Sondergaard, 750. Congratulations, guys. Well played. A snowbird who was arrested after he got lost in a golf cart has been sentenced on a drunk driving charge. Richard John Beatty, 68, of Allentown, New Hampshire, pleaded no contest last month in Suffolk County Court on a charge of driving under the influence. He will lose his driver's license for 6 months, have been placed on probation for 1 year in order to perform 50 hours of community service. Beatty was found by Community Watch at about 1:30 a.m. November 19th, slumped over and asleep in the driver's seat of the golf cart. The Community Watch driver tried using his flashlight and tried to rouse Beatty, but when she was unsuccessful, she contacted law enforcement. When the deputy arrived, Beatty was on his phone. He told the deputy he was on his way home and got lost while using Google Maps. The deputy detected a strong odor of an alcoholic beverage. He said he had been drinking Bud Light beer and admitted he'd probably have been drinking too much. You think? He refused to participate in field sobriety exercises and would not provide a breath sample. The report noted that Beatty had urinated himself multiple times while on the way to the detention center. I feel so sorry for these police officers. Got to clean all this stuff up. Oh, Lord. Thank you for your service. Opening date announced for Sprout Farmers Market in the Villages. I know a lot of people have been waiting for this. An opening date has been announced. The store located at County Road 466 and Buena Vista Boulevard will open on March the 17th. The company recently held a major hiring fair in the Villages in anticipation of the opening date. Sprouts Farmers Market is an American specialty grocer offering a health-oriented assortment that focuses on fresh and naturally derived products. Its offerings are especially focused on produce. The California-based company now has 370 stores. Henry Bonney launched the company in 1943 as a fruit stand in San Diego. How about that? An Indiana chiropractor has been ordered into anger management after a disturbance at a popular night spot in the Villages. This is a follow-up of a report we done probably a couple weeks ago. Eric William Hansen, 57, of Batesville, Indiana, will avoid prosecution on 2 counts of battery and 1 count of trespassing if he successfully completes a pretrial intervention agreement deal struck earlier this month in Lake County Court. Batesville, Indiana. Real quick, does that name ring a bell to anybody out there? Let me give you a little clue, because I used to deliver their rolls of steel. There is what I took there, an average about once a week out of Gary, Indiana, from Bethlehem Steel. Batesville, Indiana is home of Batesville Caskets. 90% of the caskets that's used today in funeral homes all come from Batesville. I, as a driver, got the opportunity to get a tour of places that we really weren't allowed to go to, but because I delivered there, they asked me if I'd like to see certain areas, and I said, yeah. One of the creepiest areas I ever seen in my life, they had a showroom for people, big organizations that come there to buy caskets by the hundreds or maybe thousands. So they have showrooms set up so they can go in and look at these different caskets and what they would look like, with a body in it. Now, the bodies were not real, they were dummies, but these bodies were made out of a material that looked creepy real. One of the showrooms was called Baby Doll. I went in there and looked around. Well, what it was is for babies, little children's, and they had baby dolls and things in the creepy. I'll never forget that. To this day, I'll never forget it. And also, another big part of Batesville, Indiana, and part of Batesville Casket, actually, is if you've ever been to a hospital and had to spend a night in a hospital bed, there's a very, very, very good chance, high chance, you have been sleeping in a hospital bed built in Batesville, Indiana, at Batesville Casket. School time is over. Hansen was asked to leave Margarita Republic at Spanish Springs Town Square on August 13th after complaints that he was putting his hands on women, according to the arrest report. A woman said Hansen had been oddly staring at her. Hansen got between the woman and her male friend and put his hands on her hip. Hansen began using obscene language about the woman and her boyfriend. Hansen refused to leave, but was eventually escorted outside by security personnel. The manager at Margarita Republic said Hansen had been told several times to leave the establishment. Hansen appeared to be under the influence, was unsteady on his feet, and had very slurred speech. He admitted he had been drinking. So there you go. They call the police and they come and take you away. Ha ha. Hee hee ho ho. To the funny farm with trees and flowers and chirping birds and basket weavers who sit and smile and twiddle their thumbs. They're coming to take me away. Ha. It's late. I'm tired. The Village's Trap, Skeet, and Sporting Clays Club won first place last week at the Florida Cattle Women's Annual Charity Tournament. That's a lot to say. The Florida Cattle Women's Association serves all the cattle-producing counties in Florida and is affiliated with the state's National Cattlemen's Organization. The Village's Trap, Skeet, and Sporting Clays Club is a 22-year recreational club in the Villages. Paul Grillett, John Garrison, Don Miller, Bruce Jane, Carl Burden, and Norm Cedarstrom. Congratulations, guys. Good shooting. A villager was arrested after allegedly throwing a beer in the face of a fellow resident at Sawgrass Grove Market in the Villages. Is Sawgrass going to be the next problem place? I went there. I did video of it. We went to McGrady's. I showed that. We went out and I showed the square when they grand opening day, showed the stage there at where that railroad car's at, went into the market across over there. Actually, I met a couple of viewers that were there. They waved me down and I went and talked to them for a long while. I thought it was a very nice place. And now it seems like I'm seeing Sawgrass Grove in the news pretty regular. Carol Ann Richard, 58, of the village of Citrus Grove, was in the bar area of Sawgrass Grove venue Sunday evening during the Super Bowl when she was provoking other bar attendants. Richard had an unleashed large breed dog, and a woman with a leashed service animal asked Richard to keep her dog at a distance. Now, why would you go there with your dog not leashed? That's a rule. Anytime your pet is outside your house, it has to be on a leash. And to go to any place where there's a lot of people and just let your dog just run around, it's not just rude, it is stupid. During the argument, Richard threw a full beer in the other woman's face. A third-party witness, not acquainted with either of the women, offered an account to the police, backing up the woman who had the beer thrown in her face. The other woman did not retaliate. Richard was arrested on a charge of battery and booked at some county detention center. She was released after posting a $500 bond. People, just use your common sense. An official is calling for scrutiny of the water meter system in the villages after complaints of unexplained usage spiked by residents. There was an article I read last week on the news also that talked about this. So apparently there's an area around here where they're getting very, very high water usage, not the bill. They're talking about gallons of water. Our meters here measures how many gallons you use in a month. And apparently there's been a real spike in the reading up there. They're going to check it out. Village of Gilchrist resident Dan Warren, a director on the North Sumter County Utility Dependent District Board, on Monday afternoon called for an investigation into complaints from residents, including William B.J. Thomas of the village of Mallory Square, who last month reported an unexplained surge in water usage at his home. Thompson has collected similar stories from residents. Warren said he isn't buying into the district's insistence that the unexplained spike in usage was caused by something such as a leaky toilet, even though I know that can be problematic for a snowbird. He said the data he studied doesn't support the interpretation. Something else is wrong, and that could be. Villager Ken Noddle described an incident with a meter reader that caused him to raise an eyebrow. He had to take the lid off the box and jiggle the wires to read the meter. He said it's an indication that there's an issue with the meter. The ironic part is that it goes back to a normal reading after a large spike. There's something wrong with the meter. He challenged the NSCU DD board directors to ride along with a meter reader who are seen traveling throughout the villages in blue golf carts that indicate they work for utility provider Jacobs. Yep, they come through here all the time. It's usually, in our area, it's usually a young female. I don't know her by name, but if I'm outside or whatever, she's very nice. She always says hi. I've sat out there and talked to her for not very long because they got a job to do and she's got to go. That's the problem with us old people that are retired. Those people are working, trying to get their day done, and we want to stand out there and talk to them, and it keeps them longer. An unlicensed driver from Mexico was arrested after impeding traffic flow in a slow-moving truck on U.S. Highway 27 at 441. Paul Perez Hernandez, 45 of Leesburg, was driving a white 2012 Nissan Frontier pickup truck at about 9:30 a.m. Friday on US 27 to 441 at Griffin View Drive. An officer following the truck noticed its driver's side brake light was inoperable. Hernandez slowed to 20 miles per hour in a 45 miles per hour zone. Hernandez slowed to 20 miles per hour in a 45 miles per hour zone and was impeding traffic. During a traffic stop, the officer found that Hernandez does not have a valid driver's license. Are you shocked yet? He was identified by his Mexican identification card. That seems to be the way nowadays. The officer also found that Hernandez has been convicted in 2021 of driving without a license. Nothing happened to him then, so he's not scared to do it again. He was booked at the Lake County Jail on a charge of driving without a license. He was released after posting a $500 bond. And he probably got in his truck and drove away. I say that being sarcastic. In Indiana, if you get arrested for that, no insurance, no registration, no license, whatever, and they're going to arrest you for something, the car's impounded. An intoxicated resident of the villages was arrested after he refused to leave a recreation center. Where do these people come from? Jesus. Anthony Christopher Borneo, 40. Why is a 40-year-old living here in a retirement community? I am always perplexed by that. Who lives at 3203 Lafayette Street in the village of Fernandina, was found by Sumter County Sheriff's deputy shortly after 7 p.m. Friday standing by a white Toyota pickup truck in the parking lot of the Burnside Recreation Center. Deputies were called after Borneo refused to leave the recreation center after being asked to do so by the recreation staff. He appeared to be intoxicated. Deputies encouraged Borneo to call someone who could pick him up. Deputies have deemed Borneo too intoxicated to drive. Borneo was argumentative and refused to leave. He was arrested on a charge of trespassing and booked at the Sumter County Detention Center. He was released after posting a $500 bond. A wrongful death lawsuit has been filed against a Canadian snowbird who ran down an elderly Snowcrest couple at a grocery store in the Villages. Part-time resident of the Villages, Wilfred Maybe, 89, on the afternoon of April the 9th, had been at the wheel of a 2017 Lexus RX 350 that struck 83-year-old Edwin Mann and 84-year-old Marilyn Mann where they were in the marked crosswalk of the Winn-Dixie on Bashara Boulevard in Spanish Springs. She died that night at the Ocala Regional Medical Center. Her husband died there 2 days later. The couple's 3 children have filed a lawsuit against Maybe and Auto Club Insurance Company of Florida. In the lawsuit, family members claim that they incurred funeral and burial expenses, medical expenses, and pain and suffering. In addition, one of the children is 100% disabled and relied on their parents as his caretaker. His sisters live in Largo, Florida, and Oak Ridge, Tennessee. They also claim that Baby struck their parents and continued to drive away until he lost control of his vehicle approximately 100 yards from the crash site and drove into the building. Maybe later offered a plea in absentia in Lake County Court to a charge of driving on an expired license of less than 6 months. Does it make any difference if an expired license of 1 day or 1 year? I don't know, maybe it does. The Collingwood, Ontario resident was fined $116 in order to pay $100 in prosecution costs according to the plea agreement. At the time of the crash, Mabies owned a home in the Rio Grande Villas, which he purchased in 2010 for $159,000. He sold a courtyard villa this past May for $279,000. The Manns were covered by Auto Club Insurance Company and had a policy which included coverage for underinsured, uninsured motorists. The Manns, who were together for 65 years, were remembered as follows in their obituary. I'm not going to read all that to you. A romantic rival was arrested after allegedly defecating the vehicle of an executive in the Villages. In my past younger life, how I wanted to have retribution on a former employer, and all kinds of things went through my mind. I never done any of it, but when you're so mad, you think it's. I did do one thing once, I'll admit it. When I was a kid in high school, there was a certain teacher. I hated him, he hated me, but on Halloween time, I went around and collected about 50 pumpkins, and I threw every one of them at about 20 miles an hour. I went past his house 100 times at night, and I smashed them pumpkins all over his front yard, all over. And I liked it. A romantic rival was arrested after allegedly defecating on the vehicle of an executive in the Villages. I find this funny. I'm sorry. Guys. Jeremy Robert Powell, 30, who lives at 2010 Ridge Spring Drive in the village of Sable Chase, was arrested Monday by Wildwood police on a charge of criminal mischief. An officer had been called at 8 a.m. that day to the Oxford Oaks home of Michael Hoofer, the director of accounting at the village's commercial property management. The former Community Development District 13 supervisor had walked out to his driveway that morning and discovered that the passenger side windshield wiper of his vehicle was broken. There were scratches on the door, and there was fecal matter on the roof of the vehicle. Hooper reviewed his home video surveillance footage and saw a man scratching the vehicle, climb on top of it, and then defecating on the roof, according to the arrest report of the Wildwood Police Department. Hoover identified the man as Powell, who he recognized from work. It appeared the damage had taken place at about 10:30 p.m. on Super Bowl Sunday. When questioned by police, Hoover theorized that Powell might have been provoked to commit the vandalism over a girl. You girls, you ladies out there. Under closer inspection of the home security video, the officer noted the man was wearing a white t-shirt and dark pants. The man kicked the driver's side mirror and scratched the doors before climbing onto the roof of the vehicle, dropping his pants and defecating. Police officer, you didn't laugh, did you? You didn't giggle. Don't tell me you snickered. After he jumped back to the ground, he again scratched the driver's side of the vehicle. The officer noted that the man captured on surveillance had a towering presence and that Powell's driver's license information indicated he stands 6 foot 5 inches tall. Powell was interviewed at the Wildwood Police Department and taken into custody. He was booked at some kind of detention center and released after posting a $1,000 bond. You kids. A resident of the Villages was arrested after an unwelcome return to Walmart at Buffalo Ridge Plaza. John George Hadash, 37, who lives at 17391 Southeast 79th Harmony Circle in the village of Chatham, was spotted at the store at about 4:30 p.m. Tuesday, according to the arrest report of Suffolk County Sheriff's Office. He had been issued a non-expiring trespass warning 2 days earlier and had been ordered by law enforcement not to return to the store as a result of complaints by store personnel. Hadash was arrested on a charge of trespassing and booked at the Suffolk County Detention Center. He was released after posting a $1,000 bond. The Sharon Morse Performing Arts Center will be adding an outdoor seating area and bar at Spanish Springs Town Square. Plans have been submitted to the town of Lady Lake for the 656 square feet addition to the Performing Arts Center, which anchors the square. The addition is to be known as Blondie's and will be an outside seating bar area oriented toward Main Street and the square. It's the latest evolution step for the Sharon, which was formerly the Church on the Square in 2014, the building underwent a major transformation, and when it reopened with a major gala in 2015 with featured theater star Patti LuPone. I don't know who that is. Over the years, the 1,000-seat venue has proven to be quite popular among villagers. Not just villagers. They say that in here all the time. It's a sales technique to get you guys to think this is all village stuff. They sell tickets to anybody there. They sell tickets at a booth, or you can get online and you can buy them. A variety of big-name performers: Jay Leno, KC and the Sunshine Band, George Thorogood, Travis Tritt, the Beach Boys, the Righteous Brothers, Don McLean, Ronnie Millsap, the Spinners, B.J. Thomas, Kansas, I don't know who Kansas is, Bill Engvall, Mickey DeLentz, Tony Bennett, Paul Anka, Frankie Avalon, Bernadette Peters, Vicki Lawrence. In 2019, President Trump had the event at the Sharon. Invitation only. Trust me on that one. How many holes in ones of golf did we get this week? Let's start with Robert Moore scored the lucky ace November the 8th at hole number 6 at the Tarpon Boyle Executive Golf Course. Congratulations, Robert, on your hole-in-one. Don Callaghan of the village of Pine Ridge got his hole-in-one Friday, February 10th at Bonita Pass Executive Golf Course. It was Callaghan's second lucky ace. Afterward, the celebratory drinks were enjoyed by all. That's a tradition. If you get a hole-in-one, whoever you're playing with, you have to buy a round of drink for everybody that you're playing with. It's just tradition. Mary Hart of the village of Hawkins got a hole-in-one at the Marsh View Pitch and Putt. She was golfing with her friend Lori Ventura. Hart is relatively new to golf. I've only been playing about 6 months, but I'm enjoying a new sport here. I see everyone else playing and thought I should give it a try. It's fun, sometimes frustrating, but I'm sticking with it, she said. Well, good for you. Hart added that the golf is a great way to get outdoors also and a good way to meet new people. Congratulations on your hole-in-one, Mary. Winston Tulloch of the Birchbrook Villas celebrated after getting his first hole-in-one on February 8th at the Churchill Greens Executive Golf Course. He scored his lucky ace at hole number 9. We golfed with a large group on Wednesday, and many of his friends were watching and cheering for him on his last hole. Congratulations on your hole-in-one there, Winston. A village of Marsh Bend man celebrated after getting a hole-in-one. Thad Brown scored his lucky ace on Wednesday, February 8th at the Palmetto Executive Golf Course. Congratulations, Thad, on your hole-in-one. A village of Richmond woman celebrated this week after getting her first hole-in-one. She scored the lucky ace on Tuesday, February 7th at hole number 2 at the Mangrove Executive Golf Course using a 7-iron. The shot went straight as an arrow, landed short, and rolled right into the cup, said her husband, Lee Dahl. Congratulations on your hole-in-one, Kelly. Kelly Hayden Wimpery of the village of Palo Alto got a hole-in-one Sunday, February 5, at hole number 8 at the Pelican Executive Golf Course. The shot was witnessed by Rob Wimpery, Miguel Style, and Dennis Style. Congratulations on your hole-in-one, Kelly. Keep playing. You'll get more. Okay, well, I think that's about the news for this week. I think that's about all there's going to be. Take care. Enjoy yourself. The village is a great place to live, but don't let your guard down. Keep an eye out. Watch after your neighbor. Watch after each other.
And don't leave your keys in the golf cart.